For the hip extension, you're gonna start on your hands and knees, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. You're gonna pick one leg and stick that leg out behind you. The leg that shoots back, that hip is gonna drop down, and you're gonna center your nose and your chest over the knee that's on the floor, creating a little bit of a C curve in your spine. Bring the leg back to the center, bring the nose back to the center, and then repeat. Kick the leg back, letting the hip drop down slightly, nose, chest, over the thigh, a little C curve in the spine. So we're not really strengthening anything in this exercise. It's an opportunity to learn this 3D spiral movement pattern that will be a part of almost all of the standing exercises in this series. So the pigeon half crawl, you're going to transition into that directly from the pigeon swivel. Take this left leg and slide it behind you, letting the left hip drop down towards the floor. Notice the angle of my toes. They're facing the right wall. So my left hip is internally rotated, that left hip is dropped down. I'm gonna sit my hip back as I kind of dip my right shoulder, and that's gonna allow my nose and my chest to center over that right thigh again. Now the active part of this exercise is to squeeze these glutes, and that's gonna push my body forward, bringing me back to a neutral position. So relax the glutes, sit back into the stretch. Feel the stretch of the right hip, left hip drops down, nose and chest over the right thigh. Squeeze the glute, push forward. So we're in this pigeon stretch position, but moving in and out of a crawling position. Option to let that back foot slide on the floor. You can come up onto the toes, and this is gonna give you a little bit more assistance, kind of rocking over the toes for a little extra support. By the end of the 30 seconds, 45 seconds, this right hip should be on fire. The single leg spiral is a progression of the wall facing single leg hold. So you're gonna start in that single leg hold, plank position, sit the hips back, pick a leg. I'm gonna pick up the right leg. I'm gonna let the right hip drop, centering my nose and my chest over the left thigh. So this is my starting position. In order to come out of this, I'm gonna squeeze my left glutes, push my chest up, extending the hip, coming back to a neutral position. Returning back to the single leg hold, sending my left hip back, allowing my right hip to drop forward, lowering my chest, nose in line with the left leg. Squeeze the glute, push myself upright, and then spiral back into the single leg hold. Keep telling yourself, left hip back, right hip forward. That's gonna give you that really nice spiral pattern, creating a lot of tension and activation in the left glute muscles. Be mindful that you keep the weight on the outer edge of the foot, keep the heel lifted. For the single-legged morning, you're gonna start with your back facing the wall. Take one foot, place the sole of the foot on the wall behind you, toe down. So if my right foot is against the wall, that means I'm gonna be working my left hip. For the single leg hinge, we're no longer moving just forward and back, but we're gonna implement that spiral pattern that we did with the single leg spiral with the hands on the wall. So you can place your hands on your hips or hold them at your chest, but if we're standing on the left leg, I want you to think about touching the wall with the left hip. Okay, as I send my left hip back, the right hip is gonna wrap forward a little bit, and I'm gonna center my nose and my chest over this left leg. Keeping the weight on the outer edge of the foot, squeeze the left glutes, push myself back to neutral. Hinge, left hip back, right hip comes forward, nose and chest over the thigh, squeeze the hip, back to neutral. Please keep in mind, single leg good morning is a hip hinge. It's not a squat. So we want to avoid dropping the knee forward, keeping the knee over the ankle, just moving from the hip. For the reverse lunge, you're going to start on the floor. It's the easiest way to ensure that your feet are in the right position. So left foot forward, knee directly over the ankle with the right knee on the floor. You're going to place your hands on your hips, pull the left hip back, allowing the right hip to come forward. That's going to pull the knee out towards the pinky toe. Nose and chest are going to center over the thigh. Tuck the back toes, squeeze the glutes on the left side, and then stand up tall. You're going to reverse that by stepping the right foot back, pulling the left hip back as you lower, hinging from the hip, nose and chest over the thigh. The knee remains over the ankle. What you want to watch out for is that you don't let the knee go forward, letting the heel come up, and do not let the knee crash inside the big toe. Okay, so again, pull the hip back, the knee comes out, stand up, reverse it, enter that spiral, pull the hip back, hinge from the hip, chest and nose come forward.